Hello, welcome to this video on Canadian animals. My name is Patrick, and so in this lesson I'm going to teach you about some of the best known animals in Canada, teach you the names and some interesting facts about these animals. And so we can see some of them in this picture here. I wonder how many of their names you know. Well, let's get right into it now. So look at this first animal. You might have seen this animal before. So what's it called? The name begins with a B, you know. It is a bison or buffalo. So nowadays I'm hearing the word bison more and more, but of course buffalo is used commonly as well. Let's look at some facts about them now. So the buffalo or bison is the largest land animal in North America, and they can be found in Alberta, Manitoba, and in Northwest Territories. And I saw some actually in the Yukon Territory as well, which is the north of British Columbia. And they reach 3.8 meters in length and 2 meters at the shoulder. And they weigh up to 900 kilograms. That's big. So let's look at the photo. We can see a Native American hunting a buffalo. So the buffalo were the main food source for the Plains Indians, and there were millions and millions of them. But the white settlers uh, wiped out and hunted most of them. So they were almost extinct. But now their population is recovering. Right. So let's move on to the next one. So what's this one called? Um, it's a two-word name, M and G. You know what it is? It is the mountain goat. And so the mountain goat is found in British Columbia, Alberta, and the Yukon, so in Western Canada. And they live high in the mountains, which protects them from predators. And their lifespan is 9 to 12 years. And in winter, they migrate to lower elevations. And they're great climbers, and they can be seen on steep slopes and cliffs. So let's move on to our next one. Okay, so what's this one called? It starts with a G, and second word with a B. Oh, you probably know this is the grizzly bear. It's a bigger than the black bear, but not as big as the polar bear. And some grizzly bear facts. Adult females weigh up to 180 kilograms. Adult males weigh up to 360 kilograms. And grizzly bears are omnivores, which means they eat both plants and animals. So they eat large animals such as deer and mountain goat, um, and they will even eat black bear as well as fish. They love salmon, and they hibernate for 5 to 7 months of the year, which means basically sleeping. So can you imagine sleeping more than half the year? Well, they do. They go into like a coma, and so they do this over the winter. So before they hibernate, they need to eat a lot to have a lot of fat reserves, which will sustain them during their hibernation. So there's a new word, a couple new words for you today: omnivore and hibernate. Uh, here's an interesting looking animal. What's it called? It starts with B and W. This is the beluga whale. And let's look at some facts about them. Now, they live only in the Arctic Ocean, well, and the Atlantic as well, but you never see them on the Pacific Ocean. Like we never see them near Vancouver. And they're interesting because they're completely white. And unfortunately, they are prey for polar bears, killer whales, and as well Arctic people. Prey means they're hunted by these people and these people and animals. And their lifespan is 35 to 50 years. And they eat fish, shrimp, crabs, mollusks, marine worms, and so on. And you can sometimes see them in aquariums. Lovely animals. Okay. What's this one called? This is the bighorn sheep. Look at those horns, curly horns. So bighorn sheep facts. They weigh up to 230 kilograms, and the horns alone can weigh up to 14 kilograms. And they inhabit the Rocky Mountains and the interior of British Columbia. And so during the mating season, the males jump and crash each other with those huge horns. And so obviously the winner is dominant and has the chance to mate with the females. Okay, now let's look at our quiz, animal quiz number 1. Let's see how much you remember. So which animal lives in the Arctic Ocean? Is it the grizzly bear, the bison or buffalo, beluga whale, mountain goat, or bighorn sheep? Which one is it? Well, of course, it's the beluga whale. So now question number 2. Which animal eats both plants and animals? It's an omnivore. Do you remember? It's the grizzly bear. And number 3, which animal is a great climber of steep slopes and cliffs? This is the mountain goat. And number 4, which animal crashes its horns against other males in mating season? This is the bighorn sheep. And number 5, which animal is the largest land animal in North America? Of course, this is the bison or buffalo. So how did you do? Did you get all 5 correct? Right, let's continue. So look at this cute little guy. So what's it called? Do you know? It's not a squirrel. It's a chipmunk. So let's look at some chipmunk facts. So the chipmunk is found only in North America. So we don't find them in Asia or Europe or anywhere else. They eat grass, seeds, nuts, fruits, fungi, insects, and other arthropods, small frogs, worms, and bird eggs. And they save their food in burrows to eat over the winter. And they have burrows that can be as long as 3.5 meters long, which are kind of tunnels, which are underground. Let's look at the next one. Look at this. It's not a cat. What is it called? It starts with an L. Look at that baby. Very cute. This is a lynx. So, and look at those ears. So let's look at some lynx facts. So they have tufts of black hair on the tips of their ears. They have large padded paws for walking on snow and long whiskers on the face. And they weigh up to 30 kilograms. And their diet is snowshoe hares, which are like rabbits. And what's interesting is the population of lynx closely related to the population of snowshoe hares. So the population of hares is kind of a cycle, and so when there are many snowshoe hares, the lynx breed a lot, and their population goes up. And then when the cycle of snowshoe hares is low, and there are low numbers of the hares, then the population of lynx goes down. And interestingly, they hunt mainly around twilight, which is sunset, or at night. So we don't see them during the daytime very often. So next, what's it called? It's not a wolf, it's a coyote. And let's look at some coyote facts. So this actually is a cartoon of Wile E. Coyote, who was an enemy of Bugs Bunny in cartoons. And so their diet consists mainly of deer, rabbits, hares, rodents, birds, reptiles, and amphibians, and even fish. And they weigh up to 20 kilograms. So they're like a small, medium-sized dog, much smaller than wolves. And interestingly, sometimes they will mate with dogs. So they will even have puppies with dogs. And interestingly, they are the most vocal of all wild North American mammals. Vocal means they make the most noise, so they howl and bark a lot. And I've heard this sound is it's quite interesting and unique. And increasingly, they are living in cities and suburbs. So the coyote is amazing. It will live in forest areas, in bushes, in the cities, and I've been quite close to coyotes myself in the city, and they're slightly dangerous. So you shouldn't approach one, but I've heard them very, very close. They I suppose they live off pet cats and dogs, as well as all of the edible garbage. Okay, you probably know this one. What's it called? This is a moose, very big animal. So let's look at some moose facts. So one thing that's interesting about the moose is it has a piece of fur-covered skin, a bell, about 30 centimeters long that hangs from their throats. And interestingly, they are powerful swimmers, and they sometimes dive several meters to feed on plants at the bottom of a lake. Isn't that amazing? Imagine that big animal swimming down to eat plants at the bottom of a lake. And their average weight is 400 kilograms for males and 350 kilograms for females. And they're generally not aggressive. However, you need to be careful because if they become angry, they are very powerful, and some people have been hurt or killed by them. And here's a really unique Canadian animal. So what is this? Starts with an M and O. This is a musk ox. So let's try and learn a little bit about the musk ox. So the Musk Ox Facts. They live in the Arctic tundra regions of North America and Greenland. So the tundra is the area of land where it's too cold for trees to grow. And they have short and curling horns on each side of the head, which they can use as a weapon. And musk oxen is the plural, defend themselves by forming a circle around their young. So if they're attacked by a bear or a wolf, the herd of musk oxen will form a circle with the weaker ones and the young in the center, and the stronger ones on the outside, and they will use the horns to defend themselves. Okay, so animal quiz number 2. So, which animal has short and curling horns on each side of its head? Well, I just mentioned it. That's the musk ox, of course. So, number 2. Which animal sometimes dives several meters to feed on plants in lakes? Of course, that's the moose. Number 3. Which animal hunts mainly around twilight or at night? This is the one like a cat. Looks like a big cat, the lynx. And which animal saves its food in burrows to eat over the winter, so that it stores its food? This is the chipmunk. And number 5, which animal is the most vocal of all wild North American animals? Of course, this is the coyote, which howls a bit like a wolf. Okay, moving. This is a well-known little guy. What is it called? It starts with an R. You probably know. Of course, it's a raccoon. So let's look at some raccoon facts. Say their body length is 40 to 70 centimeters, and they have a body weight of 5 to 26 kilograms. And they have dexterous front paws, which means they can use their paws, their hands, a bit the way a person, a human, uses its his hands. And they have a facial mask and a ringed tail, so very unique. And also, one thing special about them is they like to wash their food before eating. So if there is some water nearby, they will actually wash their food. And also, they are omnivorous. So they are omnivores. They eat fish, frogs, insects, bird eggs, and plants. And nowadays, they will also eat human leftover garbage, food waste. And they mainly live in forests, but they have adapted to living in human environments. So nowadays, like the coyote, we see more and more of them in cities, and they can become a bit of a nuisance, getting into the garbage bins. Okay, and so number 12, what's it called? So, well, this looks a lot like a reindeer, doesn't it? Well, it is. This is a caribou. In Canada, we call them caribou, but they are pretty well the same as the European reindeer that you might find in northern Sweden, Norway, Finland. And so, some caribou facts. So they are able to live in the freezing Arctic tundra areas of northern Canada. And they're a bit different from deer and moose in that they have their hooves are like their feet are adapted to allow them to walk easily on snow and ice. And the caribou have hollow hairs in their fur, which give them extra insulation from the extreme cold. So their fur is very warm. And also, their coat lets them float easily when swimming across rivers and lakes because, as I said, the hairs are hollow. It means they hold air. And they can survive in the cold winter by eating only lichens. Lichens are a kind of very slow-growing plant which grows on the ground in the Arctic tundra. Okay, now look at this little cute guy. He's very well camouflaged with his white coat. And this is the Arctic fox. So let's look at some facts. So they have white, but sometimes blue-gray coats, and which are effective winter camouflage, which means it's very hard for other animals to see them. If they're in the snow with a white coat, of course they blend in. They hunt rodents like mice and rabbits, birds, fish, and even leftover scraps from polar bear kills. So the food that the polar bear has left behind, like dead seals or dead deer. And they have furry soles with the bottoms of the feet are very furry. And they have short ears, shorter than a normal fox, and a short muzzle. The muzzle is the nose, and that's better for the cold climate. And they are found in the Arctic tundra areas and usually stay in the coastal region of the Arctic. So we don't find them down in southern parts of Canada. And in the summer, it sheds its white coat for brownish or grayish shorter fur. So, what's this? It's not a whale. It's an orca, or also called a killer whale. But I think orca is a much more positive name. So nowadays, we mainly call them orca. Killer whale is a bit old-fashioned. And so let's look at some orca facts. It's the largest of the dolphins and one of the world's most powerful predators. A predator is a kind of hunter. And they make a variety of communicative sounds. And each pod or group of orca has distinctive noises that its members will recognize. And they eat fish, penguins, and marine animals such as seals, sea lions, and even whales. And they can be 6 to 8 meters long and weigh in excess of 6 tons. And they can live to age 90, like humans. They're amazing animals. All right, so what's this? Of course, this is a beaver. You can tell by his flat tail. That's his distinguishing feature. And the beaver is actually the national animal of Canada. It's a kind of symbol of Canada because of its because it's an industrious, hardworking animal, and also the fur was very important in the economy of Canada and when the country was founded. And so they live in freshwater habitats such as rivers, streams, lakes, and ponds. And they are herbivorous, which means they eat plants. They are not meat eaters, and they eat tree bark, the skin of trees, and aquatic plants, brush, and grasses. And they're really special because they build dams. So if there's a stream, they will actually block off the stream and kind of create a small pond or lake behind it. And they build lodges, a kind of like home, using tree branches, vegetation, rocks, and mud. And they chew down trees for building material. So sometimes when you're hiking in Canada near a lake or river, you can see where they have been chewing and they have cut down trees. And their flat tail acts as a kind of rudder when it is swimming underwater. A rudder is something for steering. So again, this is Canada's national animal. So let's have animal quiz number 3. So which animal has a flat tail and builds dams? Of course, that's the beaver. And which animal can live to age 90? That is the orca. And which animal likes to wash its food before eating? That is the raccoon. And which animal has hair that is hollow, giving it extra warmth? It's not a deer, it's a caribou. And finally, which animal changes the color of its fur from white to gray or brown in summer? That's the Arctic fox. So I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. And so congratulations on completing it. And here's your ribbon for finishing. Okay, I'll see you again next time. Bye.